Greetings, good people. Welcome to Who Knows It's Just Life, the podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. Thank you for fitting me into your day today. We are back. And it's been over 2 years since I've recorded and released anything. And that was not intentional, I promise you. But that's what happened. I had at least 3 ideas of shows I wanted to do, and I just never made them. And then 2 years passed. It's wild. Like I never really planned to not continue the show. And I also didn't plan to continue it until today. I will admit the seed was planted a few weeks ago, but literally today I was like, you know what? I got some things to say. I can just resume the podcast. So here I am. I appreciate y'all joining me today, and I'm excited to get back to it. So a lot has changed. It's been 2 years. You know, there's a lot of updates, obviously, that could fill a lot of time. I'm not going to get too much into that, though I will say it was interesting. I decided to, because I had an idea what I wanted to talk about today, so I did revisit a couple episodes, and I also just wanted to hear the last episode that y'all heard, and I played it, and the kiddo was in earshot, and he was like, what? And so he'll probably be on here. He wants to update y'all on a few things, so excited to get him back on the mic sooner rather than later. Just a couple of updates from his perspective. He's in middle school now. He was 10 last time we did this, and you know, I'm gonna have him come on and let him share more. But there's a lot of updates from his perspective. Namely, he has his own YouTube channel now. He started that over a year ago, so I'm excited about that. Very proud of him for doing that. And I'm gonna stop updating his stuff because I'm gonna let him do that when he gets back on here. But yeah, as people would say, life is lifing, and it has been lifing. And I don't want to say that in a negative way. I know it tends to have a negative connotation when people say that. I just mean that my life has been moving. Things have happened. Some challenging for sure. Let's not get it twisted. And you know, I'm not going to get into all that right now. But also a lot of blessings, a lot of good things too. A lot of movement in a lot of inspiring, creative ways. One thing that I'll mention is that I finished working on an album with saxophonist Eddie K. Jr., which came out. The official first version came out in September of 2024. We dropped a couple extra tracks on the album and called it a deluxe version that came out in February 2025. That project started back in 2022. So I mean, while I was doing this show still, that's when we started working on this here thing. And I guess almost 3 years later, put out the album. It was a beautiful love. That process was amazing. He came here right where I'm sitting right now. We recorded the whole album pretty much right here, worked with another producer to kind of get it to the next level. And that's actually one of the things that I wanted to do a show on, is have him on the show and talk about the process of making that album, making music, and what it meant to us at the time. So that's something, and honestly, the timing might even be better for that right now than it would have been even a year ago. So keep an eye out for that. That hopefully will happen. I would love to do that. On a professional note, I've added to my skill sets and professional things that I'm doing. I'm actually now a certified professional coach, executive coach, career coach, what have you. And I'm growing that business. So that's something that I'll be maybe plugging here and there. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a hard pivot towards more of a professional coaching style of a podcast. I still want to keep this as what it is in terms of Who Knows It's Just Life. And I want to echo something that was on the podcast with the kiddo last time, which is that life is basically just improvisation. Like, everybody's just trying to figure it out. So I definitely want that to still be the energy of this show. Another thing that's been exciting, another creative outlet, is a project that I'm working on to basically create playlists for us millennials and really anybody who's raising kids. And it's kind of like, dang, like there's so much great music that we knew and that we came up with, or just music that raised us, that kind of thing. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure to like make sure that the kids know various types of music so that they're not clueless at the wedding or at the cookout or whatever it is, to make sure that they know. Now I feel like kind of we're gonna organically play certain kinds of music, and that's just kind of naturally happen. But I feel like with the amount of decades of music that is out there, that's just classic. I'm thinking from a black perspective, like classic black music, influential black music. I feel like, and I was talking to other co-parents, and folks, like it feels like it's going to take some intentionality to really like to do that effectively and not like miss out on some things. So I took on this challenge that I have a calendar. Frank Morrison does these calendars. Shades Calendars, I think, is the website, and I get the Urbanisms calendar and a couple others. And it has birthdays and big historical events across Black history. And so I started there by like just looking at what artists were born in which months. And then I was like, okay, let's just like flesh this out even further and create playlists per month that celebrate artists who are influential, whatever, from across the decades, across genres, and basically have monthly playlists to celebrate various artists. And so to balance out the months, I ended up using some other dates of note in a career of a person. It could be their debut album or when they got an award or something like that. Because it's funny, there were some months that just really didn't have a whole lot of people born in that month. After thinking about this, I was talking to a lot of different folks in my community. We got to 60 artists and groups. There was 1 month that had 0 birthdays. 1 month out of 60 artists, which was wild to me. I was like, how is that even the case? That month was July. For some reason, there were like no artists born in July, and out of that first 60 that we thought of. Now, no shade to the people who are born in July. They just weren't the first 60 that we thought of. So it was just a weird phenomenon. But 50 Cent, Bill Withers, Missy Elliott, among others, are actually born in July. They do exist, but it was just a funny thing that happened when we were doing that. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about that. That's been a really fun process. That thing is blown up. We've got over 140 artists and groups now, about 12 per month on average. And it's going to be a fun thing. I'm going to talk more about that as that starts to drop, kind of toward. I'm going to start with January and see how that goes. Hopefully that'll gain a little bit of momentum. That's pretty fun too. The main thing that brought me to want to record today, here and now, is Thanksgiving and coming out of the Thanksgiving holiday. Part of what I want to say is the normal political lens and angle that you might expect that I would want to talk about. And one of the episodes I revisited was episode 4 back in 2020, which was about reframing Thanksgiving. And I really encourage y'all to go back and listen to that. I had Vicky Ramirez, Stina Hamlin, and Barry Adelberg on that show. And while the organization that they were affiliated with at the time is no longer one that we would support, having those folks on there and getting their perspective on Thanksgiving was really just indigenous voices and indigenous stories and stuff like that was just really cool episode. Very, very thankful for that episode. And it was good to go back and revisit that to kind of reflect on what has and hasn't moved for me and the country and related to that topic. The other piece I want to talk about is around my grandfather. So another episode that I did was in September of 2021. Yeah. Where I had content that I recorded I think it was like 2008, 07, something like that. And I had content that I had recorded of my grandparents, my maternal grandparents. And sadly, my grandfather, whose voice was on that show, he is my only surviving grandparent, and that was the case when that show dropped. But he has very severe dementia and aphasia as well. And so I wanted to share a little bit about what that experience was like visiting him. Yeah, so I'm gonna hit that in a second. First, we're gonna talk about Thanksgiving. I can't stand this holiday. I really can't. And listening back to that Reframe Thanksgiving podcast, I really feel I'm a little disappointed in myself, to be honest, because I didn't take enough steps, coming out of that show. I do like, so 3 of the main themes that came out of that were food sovereignty, gratitude, and really just asking and interrogating, like, what is what we know and all that. Maybe I should be a little bit kinder to myself. I feel like the thing that I haven't done enough of is the food sovereignty work and really trying to understand where food is coming from and making sure that I'm accessing it more sustainably and locally. I really haven't done enough of that, although I have friends who are farmers and in that community, so there's ways for me to start to tap into that, and so I need to do a better job of that. I guess in fairness, I generally do have an inquisitive mind, and so that's the thing, and I also have invested a bit in working on gratitude, things like that. So maybe I have moved a little bit in that regard. One thing that I have done recently, in fact, last year around Thanksgiving, I was reading Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I highly recommend that book to all people because it's just such a beautiful book. It weaves together, I said weaving. It weaves together Robin's particular experience with foliage and with plants and nature in general from her experience as an indigenous woman. But she's also a botanist and an ecologist and PhD, got all the pilgrim accolades that you would need to sound like you know what you're talking about from their perspective. But she obviously comes from culture that just knows it and has its own relationship with nature. And she really beautifully calls out the blind spots we'll call it the Western education system and anything. And so that book really resonated with me in multiple ways. I'm not going to do a book report on that right now, but that book really sits with me. And I actually bought another book of hers called The Serviceberry, which is also really great. I actually read it in one day, basically. I think I read it on Thanksgiving itself this year. And one thing that I did, which was kind of, I don't know if it was awkward. I don't know. My family generally just gets together and eats. And that's kind of what most families do. I know folks, at least in my social media circles, there's people who are like protesting Thanksgiving and that kind of thing, which I can appreciate as well. It's this tough thing because I feel like I want people to have a day off and like rest and not have to work, and a day where we can celebrate, eat food, and be with family. Like, I feel like as a society, as a culture, we absolutely should have days like that. So I'm not going to shun participating in those ways because those are ultimately things that are important as people to do. I just wish we had a better reason to do it. Let me be clear. We have really good reasons to do it. This just ain't it. And I wish we could just kind of, find another more meaningful way or more meaningful reason to do this type of thing nationally. But anyway, I was moved to read from The Serviceberry before we ate at for Thanksgiving. And my family isn't necessarily the most religious either, so it would be customary to say a prayer of some sorts, but it wouldn't be too big a thing. We don't really do too much of that. It's just like, say a quick prayer, eat, get on with it. People are going to be in the TV room watching the football, whatever, right? People are going to break off and do their thing. So I kind of intentionally brought everybody together. Some people had already gone into the football room. I was like, no, everybody come here. And I'm going to read what I said, what the part of The Serviceberry that I read before everybody ate on Thanksgiving Day. This is from Robin Wall Kimmerer's The Serviceberry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World. In the Anishinaabe worldview, it's not just fruits that are understood as gifts. Rather, all of the sustenance that the land provides, from the fish to firewood, everything that makes our lives possible, the splints for baskets, roots for medicines, the trees whose bodies make our homes and the pages of our books, is provided by the lives of more than human beings. This is always true, whether it's harvested directly from the forest or whether it's mediated by commerce and harvested from the shelves of a store. It all comes from the earth. Let us speak of these things as gifts. If we do, our whole relationship to the natural world changes. In a traditional Anishinaabe economy, the land is a source of all goods and services, which are distributed in a kind of gift exchange. One life is given in support of another. The focus is on supporting the good of the people. not only an individual. Receiving a gift from the land is coupled to attached responsibilities of sharing, respect, reciprocity, and gratitude, of which you will be reminded. This kind of gratitude is so much more than a polite thank you, not an automatic ritual of manners, but a recognition of indebtedness that can stop you in your tracks. It brings you the realization that your life is nurtured from the body of Mother Earth. Let us be reminded that life is contingent upon the lives of others, without whom we simply would not exist. Water is life, food is life, soil is life, and they become our lives through the paired miracles of photosynthesis and respiration. All that we need to live flows through the land. It's not an empty metaphor that we call her Mother Earth. Food in our mouths is the thread that connects us all in relationships simultaneously spiritual and physical, as our bodies get fed and our spirits nourished by a sense of belonging, which is the most vital of foods. So that was pages 8 and 9 from the Serviceberry, and I did kind of tweak a couple of the words a little bit, just kind of make it more appropriate for like the setting. But I just felt compelled to like speak on just, I don't know, just what we're missing out on in the culture, what we're missing out on in our society. The consumerism is nuts. One of the things that she mentions in the book as well is about gratitude and how it's the antidote for need and want. And I can't tell you how nauseating it is that Black Friday stuff is happening like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. It like stuff is open on Thanksgiving. My brother and I went to the gym Wednesday, and we checked out the schedule for like what their holiday schedule was like, because we were planning to work out on Friday. They were open at 4:30 in the morning on Thursday and Friday. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, people should be able to be off. Like, I get it. I get that it's the gym, but like fitness can be free. Like, you can go outside and do some things. You could do some push-ups at home. You can not have to go to the gym one day so that people can rest. And I feel like just our culture is just so ass backwards with that. Like, I wish we had a culture that had some degree of some sacrosanct days that were actually acknowledged culturally, where people didn't have to go to work. And that could be election day, whatever. It could be a million different things. So anyway, that was a tangent. But yeah, I don't know. I did that, and I got a couple folks that were like, "Oh, thanks for doing that. That was nice, whatever." And that was cool. I just felt like sharing that because I feel like I'm struggling to kind of reconcile the way this culture is and just the way we have to show up to seem normal here. It's just I struggle with it. I really do. I really do. All right, so now I want to pivot to seeing my granddad. So he's been in a memory care facility for a couple years. I think it's going on 3 years now. And over the summer, his condition worsened to the point where he was not able to do a lot of the physical things like walking and even like, feeding himself and some stuff like that. Like his physical strength was just, dropping to the point where he needed a lot more intense care. And I went up to Rhode Island for the beach. As some of the longtime listeners will know, we do the beach in August. And some of my family members visited him, and I didn't. And I was kind of questioning what it's for. Is it for him? Is it for us? I mean, in his condition, like he doesn't recognize us really, or at least it doesn't seem like he does most of the time. With the aphasia, he can't speak either, which is really, really hard. That makes it so much harder for me. Because dementia doesn't, even folks with dementia and Alzheimer's can still speak, and they might not be speaking about what's happening in the room or who's in the room, but at least they can convey ideas and communicate. And the aphasia is just, that's just rough. That's just another level that just makes it really, really hard. And so honestly, like I just didn't go because it's not even that I didn't want to see him like that. I just was like, what's it for? And thankfully, I went on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving this year, which was not even a week ago. And I'm really glad I went. I really am. It's hard, right? It's hard to see a loved one, in a bed, barely able to do things for themselves. But there was something about seeing him and interacting with him that made it unequivocally clear that he is still there and that us being there means something. My brother and I were close to him, like we're standing right by him for a bit during the visit. And again, with the aphasia, we can't really tell what he's saying if he speaks, but we were just kind of talking about stuff. I was talking about the kiddo, talking about work, or I didn't even talk about work yet. And he was kind of like he was trying to ask a question. And my brother and I, this happened 2 or 3 times. My brother and I kind of just were on the same page with what we thought he was asking about. And of course, it's anybody, like we won't really know. But the fact that the two of us got similar interpretations without speaking, to me, is something. Like they say that a lot of communication is outside of the words themselves. And so whatever it was about the way he was moving his body, his hands, the tone, I don't know what it was we were picking up on, but I was blown away with the ability for my brother and I to kind of at least feel like we got something from what he was communicating. And one of the things was like, work. He's always been interested in what we do for work or whatever. So I was talking about that, and my mom was like, oh, I bet he's thinking about a couple of jobs ago. And anyway, he was always he's very technical minded. He had experience in some of the same industries that I've been in. So he always just got a kick out of what I was doing for work, and my brother too. And just the response, like he would move his hands like in rapid succession. Like he was just like, it was like he was excited. He was jazzed up. He was like, and then I mentioned the kiddo and what he's been doing. He last time we recorded, he was going to be Charlie and Willy Wonka. He's been acting more. He just finished a play for his school a couple weeks ago. And so talking about that and mentioned baseball. My granddad played baseball. So, he responded in ways where it was just like, he is completely there. Like, at least he's himself. I mean, he's not, obviously he's mentally, he's not where he was, of course, in the sense that dementia, takes some of that away from us, but he's still himself. And he was mobile. He was like, he was moving his legs. He was moving, like he was active. And I was really touched by that experience. And I'm not ashamed that I didn't go in August. I feel like that's where I was at that time. And I think it's okay to give myself time to interrogate that and figure out where those feelings were coming from. And I'm just thankful that I had an opportunity to see him last week and to experience how impactful that interaction can be. And I really appreciate, I appreciate the staff. The staff there is amazing. I just mentioned how the gym was open at 4:30 in the morning on Thanksgiving Day and whatever. Facilities like this, they legit do have to be open 24/7. They got to have staff around the clock for the patients, for folks like my granddad. And to them, I really, really do appreciate their love and compassion and care that they bring to the job. He's been at the same facility for a couple of years, even though the level of care that he's needed has changed. That staff is amazing, and I want to sincerely share my gratitude for all folks who work in elder care facilities, hospice care, end of life care, memory care, whatever it is. Any of those roles that are like on the clock, you physically have to be there. No worker from home. I mean, that's truly. There's really something special about that work and showing people care and tenderness at that stage of life. And I'm just so thankful for the folks that work at my granddad's facility and anybody who does that work around the world. Like, that is truly beautiful work. It also made me think about the circle of life, as I know many might be familiar with. But in his condition, it kind of felt like we were picking up on the smallest bits of communication, the smallest bits of like hand gestures and things like that, as I mentioned earlier, to try to like figure out what he might be talking about or whatever. And it reminded me of like when a baby's first born, like similar thing, like they can't speak. There's hand motions. We're figuring out how to communicate and how to receive what they're trying to communicate with us. And it just really struck me how similar those ends of life can be if we live long enough to experience it. And it's a blessing that my granddad has. And it's just really, I don't know, it felt poignant to see that arc so fully. And for my kiddo, I mean, having my own son at the baby stage was 12 years ago, and to have my granddad here now, there not a whole lot of time has passed. I can definitely remember the baby stage and all that, and it's definitely different, right? Like, it's different when this is an adult. This is a grown person that's your elder. It's somebody who has been an instrumental part of my life for years. It's been a stable, person, a stable energy. So it's hard in the sense that all of that is behind us, and all we have is bits of communication that is really strained and difficult to interpret, but it's still there, and like with my brother and I, we were still able to pick up things that he was communicating. And that's beautiful. Like, that's really beautiful. So it's just interesting to like juxtapose that to when a baby's born and you're doing the same thing, but it's all in the sense of like hope and like, oh, is this kid gonna be an artist? Is this kid gonna do this and that and the third? It's all about the possibilities. It's all about the future. But then at my granddad's stage, it's like you're thinking about the past, and it's like, what of the past could he be referring to? Could it be the house? Could it be, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's such a, I don't know. It was a beautiful experience to have. I'm very grateful that I was able to see him. And next time I'm up there, God willing, I'll definitely be seeing him again. All right. Well, I think that's it for today. I appreciate y'all listening. I'm planning for more to come, so I appreciate your patience. We're going to call this season 2. We're going to call this episode 1 of season 2, and I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to have the kiddo back on here. We're going to talk about these music playlists, which has been a blast to do so far, and I know there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up that's going to be worth talking about. I'm going to wrap it right here. Before I go, I'm going to say a song that I'm rocking to right now. It's funny because I've been listening to so many different types of music, kind of gearing up for these playlists and stuff. I'm going to say that the song I'm rocking to right now is "A Change Is Gonna Come" by Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was born in January, so he will be on the January playlist. And that song that song hits, and it's a timeless piece because no matter when you play it, it's relevant, and it just hits really hard. So "Change Is Gonna Come" by Sam Cooke is the song I'm rocking to right now. Oh, another thing that's changed is my Instagram handle. I changed it to The Cool Papa Bell. That's TheCoolPapabell. I'm not quite sure why I changed it. I changed it about a year ago. And I just love Cool Papa Bell. He's my favorite Negro League baseball player. And yeah, I don't know. I just changed it up. So the new Instagram handle is at The Cool Papa Bell. So please get at me if you want to give any thoughts, feedback on this episode, any prior episodes, any ideas for season 2. But yeah, I hope to catch you here next time. But until then, be safe, be well, peace. Who Knows It's Just Life podcast is recorded, produced, and edited by me. All thoughts and views expressed on the show represent that moment in time. Participants have the right to be wrong, learn, and reshape their ideas as the journey through life continues. Please remember to like this episode, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, thank you for listening.